One for the Blood God.
G'day guys, we've just had another really exciting World Eaters rumor / leak drop in our laps. We've seen Angron's datasheet, which is really exciting. He's going to be a beast in combat, that's for sure, but we have a little bit more information now about what type of beast we can realistically expect to see and what he's really going to look like. So I thought I'd just do a quick video sharing this with you. This has come from the same source as the previous rumors and leaks that we've seen so far, all of which have been more or less confirmed to be correct. So even though I still want to start with a disclaimer of take this with a grain of salt, I think it's pretty safe at this stage to sort of accept these as somewhat accurate. So he's got a profile that's actually quite different than that of a Bloodthirster, and I was expecting him to more or less just be a Bloodthirster with a few different kind of special rules, but it looks like he's actually quite different. So we'll go through his stats first. So he's 18 power level, which is in line with the supposed points costs that we've seen. So that's one thing that gives me a little bit of credibility to this image, I guess. So I'll put it up on the screen, but for those of you who are just listening to this, maybe whilst commuting or whatever, or doing some hobs, I'll read it out. So he's got a 16-inch move characteristic, which degrades down to a 12 and then an 8 as he takes damage. So already he's faster than a Bloodthirster, which is really cool to see. He's got a weapon skill and ballistic skill of 2+, and neither of these degrade as he takes damage, which is really cool, because it means that he's always going to be hitting really fucking hard. He's strength 9 and toughness 7. Again, neither of these degrade as he takes damage, so he's always going to be hitting you hitting on 2s with full strength, so really powerful. The toughness 7 is a bit of a surprise to me. I was expecting him to come in at toughness 8 like the Bloodthirsters, but toughness 7 isn't really that big of a deal, I guess. Then we go into his wounds characteristic. He's got a wounds characteristic of 18, so slightly less than a Bloodthirster, but a lot more than a standard Demon Prince, and it is in line with his Demon Primarch brethren, so I'm not really surprised to see a characteristic of 18 on this lad. Then we go into his attacks characteristic, and this is where shit gets real. So he's got 12 attacks when at full health. It degrades down to 10 when he takes half damage, and then another half damage will put him at 8 attacks. So his lowest bracket, he's still going in with 8 attacks that are hitting on 2s with strength 9. Now it is also worth noting at this point that the World Eaters rumored chapter trait or legion trait is +1 attack and +1 strength on the charge, which means he's actually going in with 13 attacks that are strength 10. So that's a fuckload of attacks. And now we get into some spicy stuff. So we've got his leadership, pretty standard. He's got a 2-up armor save, which is really good, especially if these guys keep Armor of Contempt, which we'll see whether or not they do, because technically on release they will be a different faction. They won't be Heretic Astartes, they won't be, Bubonic Astartes or whatever. They'll probably be some kind of other version of Astartes. So my suspicion is that on release they will not have Armor of Contempt. Whether or not they get it in an FAQ or not is entirely, up for question. But if he does get Armor of Contempt, 2-up save Armor of Contempt is going to be really spicy. But now let's have a look at his weapon. His weapon is the only other thing that's in this image. They've actually cut off his abilities section. So we don't know whether or not he's going to have some really spicy abilities. We have some comments here suggesting what they could be. But so he's got basically one weapon. He's got 2 weapons, but it's treated as one. It's got 1 entry in his war gear section. But he does have 2 different profiles, so he can strike with 2 different sort of profiles. The first one is, they're both melee. The first one is strength +5, AP 4, D3 +3 damage. So if we break that down, he's strength 9, he'll get +1 strength from being a World Eater on the charge, and then he gets another +5. So he's going to be striking at strength 15, which is huge, AP 4, D3 +3 damage, and he's going to be making 13 attacks at that profile. So that's fucking crazy. Because if he's hitting on 2s, you can expect to hit 10 times. You're going to be wounding most things on 2s, so you can expect to wound like 8 times. And you're AP 4, so you're probably going to get all 8 of those through. So he's doing 24 plus 60, plus 8 D3 damage. That's fucked. This cunt is going to absolutely wreck things. Anything outside of, heavy invulnerable saves, or, negs to wound or anything like that, that's the only way you're going to survive a charge from this guy. Or the other thing you might be thinking is, okay, 13 attacks. Yes, that's a lot of attacks. But what happens if he goes into a squad that's got 30 gaunts or something like that? Well, he is Angron, and he does have an answer for that challenge. So instead of his regular thing, he can do a sweep attack, right? And if he does so, his only strength user, which would be strength 10 in this case, because he's strength 9 plus 1 for the World Eater's trait. He's AP 3, he's only 1 damage, but he gets to make 3 hit rolls for every attack. So that means that he's going in with 39 attacks, because he's got a 12 on his profile, plus 1 for being a World Eater, and then with each one of those attacks he's making 3 sweeps. So he's going in with 39 attacks that are going to be strength 10, AP 3, and 1 damage. I'm just going to say that one more time, because that is so ridiculous. 39 attacks that are strength 10, AP 3, 1 damage. So this is going to be just insane against all kinds of targets. This guy's going to be wrecking absolute face. Now let's just have a quick look at some of the reported abilities that he has. So he's got a command phase ability. He gets to choose 1 from these 3, and it lasts for a whole turn. So it's not a short-lived bonus. This is a pretty hefty bonus that he has access to. So he's got a 6-inch aura of prevent anybody from retreating without any preconditions. So I believe that what they're saying there is that it's like a Scarbrand style thing, where if a unit wants to try to fall back, this will prevent them. Interestingly, this is with no preconditions, whereas Scarbrand's got a leadership mechanic involved. There's other units where you've got a roll-off involved. This is just a absolutely not. You will not fall back if you are within 6 inches of this guy. You cannot fall back, which is going to be really big at helping those World Eaters units stay alive, because you'll be able to lock your opponents in combat. And in combat with World Eaters is absolutely not where anybody is going to want to be. So that's really strong. Another option for him is every World Eater unit can reroll their melee hit roll of 1 whilst within 6 inches of Angron. So essentially like a captain style buff. That's pretty cool. Rerolls are always good. And then the third one is World Eater's core unit gets +1 attack whilst within 6 inches of Angron. So this is really interesting in that it's sort of like Scarbrand, but a little bit more controlled. So Scarbrand gives +1 attack to everybody, whereas this guy gives it to just friendlies. Scarbrand gives, you can't fall back to everybody, but it's on a roll-off, whereas, Angron gives it without needing to do a roll. So there's some interesting play there with his abilities. I think the big highlights for Angron's data sheet are the movement characteristic of 16, because that makes him kind of like a Bloodthirster, but really fucking fast Bloodthirster. And one of the challenges with Bloodthirsters is because they only have that 12-inch move, it's not entirely impossible for your opponent to just kite you. And by kite, I mean they run around and you follow them, right? So that can be a significant challenge for, the Chaos Demons armies, the Khorne Demon armies. Whereas with Angron, he doesn't care. He's just going to come at you, and he's so fast. Particularly if, I doubt it, but if there is an ability to get advance and charge in the Codex, then that's going to be, a huge win for players wanting to run Angron. I'm suspecting that there won't be, because, anytime something sounds fun, they seem to not want to let World Eaters have it. But yeah, so I'm going to wrap up the video there. Thanks for tuning in. I just wanted to share that with you real quick and sort of cover off this exciting new news that we've got some indication of the direction that GW are potentially taking in regards to Angron's datasheet. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
Look for the Blood God.
The Warhammer community suffers from some of the most prohibitively expensive essentials in the world, especially Australian content creators. Every single day, Dean wants to create content, but he can't. Suffering from old, worn-out brushes, expensive model kits, and costly software and equipment he can't endure much longer. Just look at this dirty paint water. Would you drink this? Would you let your child? Even a small monthly donation can help provide Dean with clean paint water, basic tools for survival, and access to life-saving information and education. So please, follow the links in the description below and find out how you can sponsor a mad cunt like Dean today and end the suffering. Suffering that is cruel, unsustainable, and your fault.
Do your objective markers ever get lost behind terrain or other models and become difficult to see? Do they ever get bumped and accidentally moved during a game? And do they ever spark arguments about distances? Well, not anymore. Introducing the blog for the Blood God, not even remotely patented neoprene objective markers. Made from the same material as astronaut suits, or maybe military equipment, or probably neither of those things, this 2mm thick neoprene synthetic rubber is tear resistant, water resistant, and is designed to last. But that's not all. The blog for the Blood God, not even remotely patented neoprene objective markers come in a variety of different designs and styles to suit any faction represented in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. These objective markers are a perfect gift for yourself or a friend, and are a perfect way to flex and show your opponent that not only are you a smarter, cooler, and better 40k player than them, but you also have more disposable income than they do. For the low price of $25, you'll get not one, not two, but 6 neoprene objective markers, perfectly designed for 9th edition Warhammer 40k. But wait, there's more. For a limited time only, people who sign up on Patreon to support Blog for the Blood God as a Skull Champion tier $5 per month member will gain access to a custom design service where I will design a unique logo to support their gaming club, like the one I did to the left here for the Potato Farmers local gaming club here in Melbourne. Follow the links in the description of this video to pick up your set today.